Hello, and welcome once again to Devardi Glass Videos. Today we'll be making a Pandora style hollow bead. Now the reason we like to make the hollow beads is because that thin layer of glass with the air bubble on the inside really shows off some neat colors in the glass. There it is there, the finished product. We're just going to show you that up front here, so you know what we're going to be making. And we've inserted a couple of silver-plated Pandora inserts ready to go for your jewelry. And on this particular bead we only use 2 glass colors plus some pure silver frit by Devardi Glass, and all 3 of these can be found on our website. Now, what we'll be using here is a side hole 3/16 stainless steel Pandora mandrel. The end of it has been welded shut and a hole drilled in the side. And we'll be using some latex tubing to assist us in blowing the bead a little larger through the side hole. These items can also be found on our website. So, back to the bead making. What we've done here is made a couple of small starter beads on either side of the side hole in the mandrel. This is the Indian marbled glass by Devardi, the butterscotch color. And the next color we'll be applying is the transparent cranberry by Devardi. It looks black in the picture because it was in the rod warmer, and this color turns black when it's hot, and when it cools it turns back to its beautiful cranberry color. Now what we're going to be doing is sewing this bead shut on the outside, leaving that pocket on the inside where the side hole is in the mandrel. You can see the little side hole still between the 2 starter beads. We slowly apply a little glass to either side of the 2 starter beads, bringing the sides closer and closer together. Now we haven't connected the latex tubing to the mandrel yet. We can do that later. Make sure it doesn't get in the way. It is fairly flexible, so you can work your bead really well with the tubing attached to the end of the mandrel, but there's no need to have it attached until we're ready to blow on it and expand the bead. When we do get this sewn shut and ready to expand the bead, keep in mind we just want to puff this bead out a little bit. We don't really want to blow it enough so that it gets overly large. When you do that, the outer layer of the glass can get very thin, and you can end up blowing a hole completely through it. So just a slight amount of pressure through the tubing will just puff the bead a little bit and make it look really classy. Now you don't have to be real particular about sealing the bead entirely as you apply your layers here. Any little holes will seal themselves as you heat the bead. A couple of things you want to be sure of: you can't shape these types of beads on a marver or masher pliers, because you will force glass into that pocket down below, and that will make it difficult to puff the bead outward later. So we want to just apply this glass and then slowly heat it. Be careful not to overheat this glass, but just allow it to slowly heat and melt and form a nice round bead all on its own by gravity. Now we've finished adding the glass that we want to add. We're just going to carefully heat the bead evenly all around and allow it to slowly round itself out. And then we'll be applying a little bit of silver frit to the outside, and this will cause a nice contrast between the reaction the silver has with the glass and that background red. Now, some people like to use just the hollow side hole mandrel to puff their beads by just putting the mandrel in their mouth and adding pressure. If you can use the latex tubing, that will allow you a little more versatility with the glass. You can hold it sideways and look at it rather than holding it lengthwise toward your mouth where you can't really see the bead very well. Just a few feet of the latex tubing is all it takes to give you enough flexibility where you can move your mandrel around and still puff your bead out. Now we're about to apply our silver frit here. The bead has rounded out considerably. As some of you probably know, I really like that silver frit. The reactions it has with Devardi glass is phenomenal. And each color produces a different type of reaction. Eventually you get to know what the silver frit will do with what glass color, so you know what to expect. But you get some greens and yellows, and browns, even blue when you apply it to Devardi opaque black. Really phenomenal stuff, this silver frit. 99.9% pure silver. Now, once you've applied the silver frit, you look for a little puddling of the silver frit on the bead. And once that puddling begins, you know that the silver has reacted with the background glass. You can see the little tiny puddles of silver now on the glass. And we're ready to add our latex tubing to the other end of the mandrel and begin our puffing process. Now, this can be a little tricky, but essentially what you want to look for here is a bead that is evenly heated. Make sure that it's the same color, brightness all the way around. And when it begins to glow, a nice orange glow, just begin to add some pressure through the tube. You can see it begin to puff. And when you're done, reaching the size that you would like, remove the bead from the flame, keeping constant pressure through the tubing as that glass cools. If you let up on the pressure, the bead will shrink because that air inside will shrink as it cools, and that will pull the bead inside toward its center and shrink the bead. So just be sure to keep an even pressure through the tube as it cools outside the flame. Once it stops glowing, you're ready to go. Now we're just going to smooth up the ends here a little bit. And we're going to keep our pressure in the tube also, just in case it begins to try to change shape on itself. And then we'll pull it out of the flame once more, keeping constant pressure. You can see we're getting a nice little puff now. And that's about it. We're going to pull this out of the flame and let it cool just a bit and put it in the kiln. And there's your final produced bead. Thanks a lot, folks, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy making something like this. Sure is a lot of fun, and it's very beautiful. Bye now.